Hi guys, Alina Shaltsova, immigration attorney from New York is here, and I'm going to have our live today. We're going to talk about the recent immigration news, what happened with Democrats' attempts to put immigration reform within the reconciliation budget provisions, what we're going to do about it. We're going to talk about possible shutdown, how it may affect immigration, and we're going to go over some local news as well. So thank you very much for joining me. I see some people started watching. And comment, say hello. Please don't forget to prepare your questions. I will be happy to answer them if I can. And let's start. Hi, Hamzus. Hi, Nader John. Hi, Jandera. So what's going on? We received news that Plan B, plan that Democrats introduced to the Senate Parliamentarian instead of the first plan that was rejected by her, was rejected as well. Okay, she rejected it as well. It happened very quickly, much more quickly than the first plan. If you recall, for the first plan, it took her about a week or so to make her decision. And now she used the same explanation as to why she rejected Plan B. And Plan B was to move the registry date, the date from which, if you are residing in the United States, you would be able to file for green card, to 2010, according to the media reports. That was the Plan B. But even with that, she said no. She said that it still creates a new policy and it's going to affect so many people. That effect of this proposal is going to be much more significant than the budgetary benefits. Okay, so I guess that's where we stand with her. I do not anticipate, honestly, that some other major provisions are going to be passed. The minute the media puts in the press that it's going to help 6.7 million people, 8 million people, 11 million people, we understand that the same conclusion is going to be used for her to reach her decision. I mean, it will be logical, right? So now maybe Democrats are going to introduce Plan C. But if they do, in order for it to pass, most likely it will be something very, very limited, and most of you will not feel the difference, okay? That's what I take from this situation. Can they ignore her? Yes. It will be a rough move, and I'm not sure if they are going to do that. They indicated in the past that they will not, but they did it right after she rejected quite broad Plan A. Plan B, I think the rejection of it was kind of unfair. Why? Because first of all, the law is already or was already in place. It's not something per se very new, right? It's been used by the United States since 1929, I believe, and almost for 100 years. So we cannot say that it's a new proposal or very new policy. It's not. The last time it was used was in 1986. It was pre-IRA, a huge immigration law change that happened in 1996. However, it was something that was used, and the way they're using it, they're just shifting the date, right? They're not creating any new laws, they're just shifting the date of the new date, time point that you can count your time in the United States. So just because it's going to help so many people, I think they looked at it at a wrong angle, all right, in my perspective. And I think Democrats had a right idea. They said we're going to use the laws that were already in place and ask for its renewal in this bill. And I think it was a fair game. So this was just basically I think it was unfair, to be honest. All right, if it's the first one, I could understand why it happened this way. This one, I think it was unfair. All right, so what's going to happen now? Can they ignore her? I think they can at this point. Why? Because at this point, taking into consideration the fact that the proposal was much narrower in scope and already based on the law that passed before several times by the United States, I think it will be fair game to do that. Will they make the move? I do not know, to be honest. It depends on how badly they would like to keep the promises they made, because they did make certain promises that people are expecting them to keep. So we're going to see what's going to happen. So can they attempt Plan C? I see many people ask, do they have a Plan C? I do not know, of course. But if I were them, I would better be prepared with Plan C, D, E, and F if I have to, right? If I have to, because I work for my people, I have to have those plans in stock. So I think they may. What else can be done? We can go around creating new regulations and do the same as the government tried to do with DACA. Now it brings me to my second point. You probably you saw my video by other lawyers in the media about DHS codifying DACA regulations, making them official regulations by the Department of Homeland Security. This was the main concern of the federal judge who ruled that DACA program was unlawful. It gives us a signal that DHS may create a new rule that would help certain groups of immigrants. What's special about the DACA program is that it's a deferred action. It was framed as a part of the prosecutorial discretion powers of the governmental branch that controls immigration to grant some leniencies to certain immigrants. It does not create a green card pass on its own, but it surely makes someone's life a little bit easier by providing employment authorization, protection from removal, and ability to travel. It means that DHS may create similar program for other groups of people as well, if they will. Of course, they may be challenged, saying that they're overstepping their authority and it should be Congress who is doing that, but they've done it before. For example, I-601A waiver, a new waiver that was created similar way, right? Waivers that's helping many people. DACA program that still exists, although we have some problems with that. All right, so that's second option that they may have, because now the government is at power, you're a victor, right? They won the elections and now they have the power to put those regulations in place. Maybe it will be something similar to DACA deferred action. Maybe it will be a waiver, call it I-601B, that is going to give you a waiver of unlawful presence in the United States without the need of travel for the visa outside, something like this. And then people can be sponsored by the employers, for example, right? Because many people, they do work. I personally do not know any immigrants here who do not work. I do not know, maybe they exist, okay? But in my experience, usually people are very hardworking. Nobody's gonna give them house to live for free. You have to work to make a living, to pay your bills. And your employer, in many, many situations, would be willing to sponsor you if they had a chance. So give people this chance, right? Give people this chance. Very, very possible. So that's number two, what they can do. Number three, of course, is to go for traditional laws, which in current climate, it seems that it's just not achievable, at least to me. Why? Because I feel that, and frankly, we say both sides are strongly rejecting proposals by others. And it's upsetting for us, for people who are seeking to get some solutions. They're not willing to listen to each other. If you remember, in 2013, Republicans proposed to legalize dreamers. It was not the ideal proposal. I'm not saying that it was perfect, but it was a pass. But Democrats rejected it, saying that, oh, well, it's not everything that we want. Now, what we're almost 10 years later, we're still nowhere. So that's something to think about. So those are the real opportunities I think that may be accomplished during at least this term of the President Biden. Okay, so we're going to see what's going to happen. Now with the shutdown, I know many of you are very worried about the shutdown. Do you remember several years ago it happened already? So what happened at that time? Here is what happened. Immigration court hearings were necessarily stopped. Why? Because judges and court personnel are paid by the government. If the government is shut down, the federal employees, they cannot work, right? So the hearings will be rescheduled. USCIS, however, kept the appointments, kept accepting the applications, and kept going. Why? Because it's funded by the fees. Hence, it was independent from the budgetary needs and could continue. At least that's how it was. Department of Labor stopped accepting prevailing wage requests. If you recall, I personally remember that I sent a request at that time that was just lost somewhere, never received it back, never received any response, because I sent it before the shutdown happened, and they got it when the shutdown started, and it was that. All right, so what else do we have? ICE. Something tells me that ICE will continue to work, all right? Even though those appointments that you guys have, some of you have orders of supervision, they probably will be transferred, all right? So ICE, DHS, Department of Labor, and usually, honestly, these shutdowns, they're not lasting for a long time because everybody understands we have to go on. So they will come to conclusion. I wouldn't worry much about that. For USCIS purposes, usually we didn't see any delays except for labor-related cases. Okay, labor-related cases were affected, but family cases were genuinely not affected. So that at least something that shouldn't be a problem. I wouldn't worry much about it like that. All right. So, oh yes, the only question about the shutdown, if they will stop working, what's going to be with the deadlines? And usually they will tell you how they're going to handle it, okay? The deadlines that people have to submit certain documents and so on and so forth. So there will be a memo of some sort where they will tell you what to do in this situation. Because I think during the time they were accepting mail, if I'm not mistaken, you could mail something, but you could not file within a window. So at least that was good. I'm talking about the immigration court. All right, so these are the main, probably one of the main things that I would like to discuss today. I mean, we have some other situations in news. Of course, everybody saw what happened at the border and taxes with people from Haiti. It's a big concern. I think it's affecting the internal policies as well. Unfortunately, it's being used by people who, for whatever reason, do not want to pass immigration reform. Because, of course, these two things should be totally separated. The people who are in the United States versus people who are outside of the United States. Immigration reform is not designed for people who are outside of the United States, guys. I see a lot of inquiries about it. It will not help you per se, okay? Will not. It will not help many people who come here after a certain date, let's say after January 1st, 2021. It will not help you, it can't. Because every time in the United States there is an immigration reform, they have that precaution that the minute they start discussing any plans, they say that by this date you were supposed to be here, not to encourage situations at the border, but for whatever reason, people still come hoping that they will be covered. Not. So that's what's happening, and of course we leave it for DHS to resolve it. I think they said that they are aware, of course, that the system is broken. They're going to be working on that. But in any event, I think the main priority should be humane immigration system. You don't have to, provide everything and anything, but don't treat people without dignity. Okay, that's the main concern, right? Pregnant women should be afforded special considerations. Children should be afforded special considerations. And I believe that this administration already voiced this several times, that they will commit to that. So that's where we leave it at that. Now, immigration courts in New York, watch out for those. Individual hearings are taking place via internet or a phone call through video, all right? At 29 Broadway, hearings are going to be taking place as a rule telephonically, if I'm not mistaken. If we read the last standing order, check with your lawyer. At the master hearings now, your presence will not be necessary if you have an attorney and your hearing is at 290 Broadway, 290 Broadway, and it's telephonic appearance. Just a little tip so you can plan on your life, but check it with your lawyer always. What you need to do, what documents you have to file. I like to file as many documents as I can before the appearance, so there are no surprises for the judge, no surprises for the prosecutors. We're all people and would like to treat each other as such, right? With dignity, with as much notice as we should. All right, so now, guys, if you have some of your questions, let me try answering them. Watching from Chicago, highly. Is it cold yet in Chicago or not yet? No, Chicago is much colder than New York. Hi, Kaliwitz. Is there any chance for Plan C like 245I? I believe so. There is always a chance. Why shouldn't there be? Right? Why shouldn't they be? If they promise to work on that, now it's time to put a little bit of pressure on them to do that. Why? Because for many of you, it's a life or death situation, right? You're tired of waiting. You would like to have some certainty in your life. People agreeable to pay the fines if you have to pay a fine. 245I comes with a fine. It's at this moment is $1,000. It actually has not changed from the time it was last used. If they want to change it, please, but give people a chance, right? After the decision, is there any possibility? I think there is also a possibility. I'm an optimist here. Schumer and Biden are going to betray their promise as usual. All right. Guys, it's not only Schumer and Biden. We have other people in this country making decisions. I think so far they've done, I think personally Schumer and Biden are doing a great job, but they're not the only people, like some countries, that make decisions here. And that's the situation that have to be taken into consideration, all right? So it's much more than just two of them. I mean, they're two very famous Democrats, but there are other people too, and very powerful Republicans that you cannot just discard. Ma'am, what about recapturing visas? I'm outside USA F4 category applicant. Can I benefit from it? If they would have passed the proposal about recapturing of the visas and possibility to expedite cases, then of course you would have. But currently, we don't have that passed. No, we don't have that passed. Hi, Hacks. Thank you for joining. Registry was a good plan. Hey, equity. Democrats need to fire that useless parliamentarian. No comment here. Ma'am, okay, we have answered that one. They need to fire her and go plan to plan A. They can ignore her, right? They can ignore her if they choose to do that. It will be a bold move. So I'm not sure if they will actually have stamina to take it, but it's possible. They're playing with people's feelings. I don't think they're playing, guys, honestly. I think it's just that there are very strong opinions on both sides, and these opinions and prejudice perhaps is on a way of seeing the actual benefit. I truly do not see negatives in allowing people to come out of the shadows and participate in the society on equal rights. They're already paying taxes. Many of you guys are paying taxes. You're already contributing. You're supporting this country. You're essential workers. you're caretakers for the babies, for the elderly. You are the people who are having the restaurants run, where everybody's having food. You're the people who are working at the farms, where everybody's benefit. People in the healthcare industry. It's all you, all of you, you. So I don't understand why there is such a big concern to just give you a little bit back. And you're not asking it for free. You would have to pay the fee, you would have to pay the penalty, whatever they ask, just so you will have the paper and will be able to sleep without waiting for the ICE to knock at your door, right? So, pending asylum case can be sponsored without going outside the United States. If it's employment, immigration, usually the answer is no. There is one Board of Immigration Appeals decision that some lawyers say that we're successfully using. Some lawyers say that is not accepted by USCIS or DHS as a viable precedent, that says that if you managed to file your asylum application while you were still in lawful non-immigrant status, but your status expired because you were waiting for the government to process your asylum application, you should be able to adjust based on employer's petition. I personally have heard and checked with other lawyers in New York, it's not working. I mean, is it worth it to try? Sure, I think sure, you can try. But most likely, the government is going to take the position that asylum pending is not a lawful non-immigrant status, and you will not be able to enjoy that exception that you fell out of status due to no fault of your own, but to the government's inability of processing your asylum claim too fast. All right? So that's where you stand. Now, if you have a legal entry and now you can adjust based on the immediate relative petition. Immediate relative petition is a U.S. citizen spouse, or let's say it's a son or daughter who is 21 and you are the parent, then you should be able to adjust because your unlawful presence or lack of lawful non-immigrant status would not matter. Okay, you should be able to adjust. There is a procedure for it. Immigration court has your adjustment jurisdiction, and your lawyer will be able to help you. So DV lottery, no. So that's how it is. Equity justice. Time for immigrants to peace this oppressive nation. Oh, come on. No, any type of violence. I do not support it. No. The peaceful argument, absolutely. The calling congressmen, absolutely. Advocating, yes. What do we expect from a party rather leaves the country to go to default and agree to other party proposal? I believe they need to return to Plan E, get it done. I also think they should get done Plan E. As I said, default is not something new. In the United States, it happens from time to time. But there was even statistics as to the longest default, how long it lasted. And you know what? The United States always survived it. I have been here for 12 years. I think it's time to move to Canada. I don't think so, but I respect everybody's opinions. If DACA and I-765 expires, can you file for renewal? Okay, yes, you can. Those of you who have active DACA, you guys can submit for renewal. That still is allowed and still going on according to the information I have as of today. Okay, so yes, you can. You cannot submit new applications. If you've never had DACA and you would like to file for it for the first time, then you can submit it. I'm sorry, let me take it back. You can submit it, but it cannot be granted. And I encourage everybody to submit it. But you should know that it's going to take a very long time to have it granted until for the situation with courts to pass, okay? If some has a deportation order, are they eligible? Eligible for what? Tell me what for. If an immigration reform is going to pass, usually is going to be available, and for those who have deportation orders. In fact, the proposals that we've seen so far specifically address that. They say that your prior deportation order should not be a concern. And also double entry. Okay, so double entry means you may be subject to permanent bar. If something passes, then we're going to see if anything can be done about this. Currently, if somebody is a subject to permanent bar, they're very limited. There are still reliefs they can file for example, a U visa, but they're very, very limited situations. Sometimes certain victims of VAWA, domestic violence, may qualify for relief and adjustment of status, even if they had to re-enter the country, if they can show that re-entry was connected to domestic violence, for example. Plan B, not humanitarian, whereas people, they work in COVID-19. Democrats say given documents because they save us, save our economy. Check this out. If they would pass Plan B, moving registry date to 2010, and a lot of essential workers would qualify as well, right? A lot of dreamers would qualify as well. Dreamers would necessarily qualify for it. Why? Because right now, to be a dreamer or DACA holder, you have to show that you've been here from 2007. It means by 2010, you were already here, so you would just automatically qualify, right? So I think it actually was a good date. 10 years is the number that is used for cancellation of removal. It's kind of would be as a cancellation of removal before USCIS, but without the need to go to see the judge. So I personally think I would take anything. Whatever they would pass, I would take it. Why? Because then you can ask for more later, right? But you take what they give you now. So at least 6 million people will be able to benefit. Or maybe you can, what if you're marrying somebody who is benefiting? Then they can sponsor you. You can, so it may be more than what they estimate. Just because if they allow dependents or sponsorship by people who receive documents, you'll be able to sponsor family members. What about the backlog of family-based category, especially F4? Nobody would like to address that. I don't think they're focusing on that per se at all at this moment. I mean, there was a good proposal to be able to expedite it, right? To pay $2,500 on expedited. Excellent proposal, but I don't think that it's resolvable at this very moment. Hello, how long is work authorization process taking after receive the receipt for pending asylum application? Good question. 2 tracks. If you filed your asylum application and you became member of ASAP or CASA, I believe, you can file for your work permit and should receive it within 30 days after filing, after your application is pending for 180 days. If you do not want, for whatever reason, and I do not know why wouldn't you, but if you do not want to become a member of those organizations, you would have to wait for 365 days before you can file for your work permit, and there is no time limit as to how long the government may take issuing you that work permit. So the answer is become a member of those organizations and fall under the court ruling about the strictly 30 days adjudication and 180 days, right? Instead of 365 days. Will application support centers and biometrics appointments be affected if a government shutdown were to happen? Good question. I do not remember what happened the last time. I'll be honest. They paid by, well, it's kind of USCIS, but I'm not sure how they paid by. So I would not be able to answer it right now. I just don't remember what happened. I know that USCIS appointments were kept because they said we're not depending on the budget. We can continue. Our money comes from the fees. We're totally sufficient by the fees. So at least that would happen last time. Okay. Are they working on recapturing other visas, a part of the reform? I do not know. They may and they should, but honestly, I do not know. The plan B that they had did not include that provision to my knowledge. Hi, with Sam. I have my court in 2024 for asylum, but after 2 years with USCIS and I have my son here, however, my wife and 2 daughters in another country. Any way to help a very clear, solid asylum case? Solid asylum case. Okay, got it. So you would like to bring your family members while you have asylum case pending. I'll be honest with you that usually you'll be not successful. There are some situations when the government is going to grant what's called humanitarian parole. You should look into this, and if you wish, you can file for it. There are application fees for it, but in my experience, it's rarely, if at all, granted. Okay. Democrats to overturn McDonnell, a move that would require the support of all 50 Democrats, plus Vice President Harris in the chair. Listen, they won the elections partially because they made certain promises. Now it's the time to keep those promises, right? Parliamentarian made a hint in her statement she will be rejecting any type of immigration proposals in the reconciliation bill. It is a bad idea to go back to her again and again and anymore. What if it's a bad idea? I personally do not believe it's a bad idea because you're creating a record. Lawyers love to create a record. They love to show that, listen, before we overturned you, we actually tried to comply with your demands. We modified our plan A, then we proposed plan B, plan C. Plan D was nothing and it was still rejected. So now we feel we have moral rights to take it some other way, right? So I don't think it's useless. I think they have many people and many assistants to assist them to put those proposals and do what they're supposed to do. It's like a trial, guys. If you go for trial, if you have a lawyer who is working on your case, you always have to have plan A, plan B, and plan C. And you have to try your best. Sometimes you have maybe you know that it's going to be tough to win the case, but you still have to develop a record and put all your arguments in place because you cannot save them for the later. They cannot go back a year later, say, oh, by the way, we got this great idea. Okay, it's going to be too late. It's the same logic applies here. You have to put all your arguments forward. In my opinion, of course, I'm not experienced with that at all. It's just my logic. They probably have something better. Hi, what happened to the Dreamers Act 2021 passed by the House last March? Do you think this bill will go to Senate? Nothing happened to what I know. You can click on the Congress's website. There are updates as to the last legislative action that was taken on the bill, and you will see. But I bet you if it was something meaningful would have happened to it, we would have heard, right? So I don't think anything's happening right now. Nothing. Okay, I don't believe in violence. I'm just, I know, sweetie. I know that you're just frustrated. I know. It's we're all frustrated. We're trying to see what can be done. And I said, peaceful advocacy is the best. You voice your opinion, you write your emails, letters, what you have to do to the elected officials. You ask your friends and your employers, people who may be not afraid because they have the legal status here to do the same. This is what America is about. You voice your opinion, right, to your elected officials. You can support non-for-profit organizations that are fighting for you and are doing a great job. They're organizing people, they're lobbying, during different events. And that's how you can contribute. If you feel that you would like to join a cause, that's what you can do. You can give them $5. They'll be super happy because any little money helps, right? To create those posters, to go there, to get the voice of the news. So more and more people see what you want and what is needed and how you're suffering when it's not done. Because I think people don't understand really what an immigrant is going through, what you feel truly, especially, let's say, all your family is legal or your kids are legal and you're not, and maybe sometimes you're even embarrassed to tell them. And I've met families where they say, oh, I want my kids not to know that I had this in the past, and they should understand that. I know that some people, when they have a good life here, they get a little bit detached from the rest of the people who are suffering every day because of this, right? And I think it's time to make it, to show what it's really like. I don't believe the Democrats would overrule the Parliamentarian. The Democrat might end up going with the original DREAM Act because that has more support by Republicans and Democrats. Perhaps they're going to choose the route that includes, better compromise. Perhaps they will. We're gonna see. The Republicans have another plan for the reforms. They do. They believe that you should attend for your sins for 11 years before you can get any status. They do. Listen, honestly, will I take that? I'll take anything at this point because, like, for me, for example, I have status, but I'm talking about most of the immigrants. Usually just guys are tired of waiting, right? And Republicans' proposals, from what I've seen so far, they say that first you're going to have some temporary status, then it's going to be a green card, and they will evaluate your progress, like in school, if you're doing fantastic or not. I mean, it's a proposal. If they are modifying proposals that are made by the Democrats may say, fantastic proposal, now let's change it. Let's work on it together, right? They can do that too. Hi, Miss Kamala can fire the Parliamentarian. They can ignore her, yes. They can overrule her, correct. All right, guys, please, what was the registry date? I believe the date was 2010. That would be the registry date that they're pushing for. It's about 10 years from now, right? 10 years back, 2010. So this is where we are at this moment. What's going to happen? We're going to just observe, report, as I said, participate to the extent we can. Please, whatever comes, you always have to have proof that you pay taxes, that you took care of any criminal arrests if you have any, and certificates of dispositions. If you are not sure what happened to you in the past, you don't remember, get yourself an FBI self-background check and find out, right? FBI self-background check. You can do that. It's possible to obtain it. There is no concern that somebody's going to come after you when you're doing this. Millions of immigrants are doing it all the time. FBI self-background check. Birth certificates, marriage certificates, divorce certificates. You should have those. I cannot believe I still meet some people that are filing for immigration benefits, don't have divorce certificates. It takes them months to obtain those. Don't slow down your case. Copies of your immigration files. EOIR, Executive Office of Immigration Review, just came out with a new initiative to have your records available faster. We're going to see how that's going to work, but they're trying. So USCIS, Immigration Court, CBP records, or you should obtain. So you know how many times you met the agent, what was done, whether you were deported or not. If you were deported, what was said by the judge about your case, whether they accused you of filing a fake case or not. You want to have those records. Sometimes people will be surprised as to what was filed for them 20 years ago by some notaries they went to get work permit for. You have to have the records, right? So at least that is possible to obtain, and that's something that you should work on, right? In the meantime, and then we're going to wait and see. If you believe you can qualify for something, U visa, for example, I just met somebody who didn't believe me that there is a U visa. It was very funny. He said they're going to Google it. U visa, guys, is something that is obtainable in the United States if you're a victim of a crime or qualifying criminal activity. And assault, by the way, people say, oh, just a fight. Well, assault is that activity, for example. So would be domestic violence and similar activity. And you have to show that you were cooperative with the police, and that police, prosecutors, a judge, in certain situations, Department of Labor or Social Services may sign U visa certification for you. Then you can file a petition for the U visa. Right now, the rules changed. You will be able to get a work permit while your U visa is pending, which may take 4 to 5 years, very long time. All right, and then you receive the U visa, hopefully. After 3 years, you can file for the green card. Takes forever, but it's a path if you became a victim of a crime in the United States, right? Why I'm talking about it? Because it's one of the things that may help a lot of people, regardless if you have a note of deportation or removal in the past, if you re-enter the country, and sometimes even you can ask for a waiver if you were accused of marriage fraud, because U visa is not an immigrant visa per se. It comes with a special waiver you can file for. All right. So thank you very much, guys, for joining. Again, like, share this video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't. Sometimes I do post some interesting information there all the time. And thank you for participating, and I hope to see you soon.